Good afternoon, and welcome to another well-trodden edition of Diatribes on the Voice of Doom. Now here's your erudite and amusing host, Voice of Doom. No, I'm not going to give you a snack. Peeing on the freaking rug. You have the life of Riley here, and that's going to be a deal breaker. So you better get in your doghouse. I'm sorry. I have to reprimand one of my tenants. I'm tired of stepping in pee all the time. But that's going to distract me from my part 2 of the vicious circle. And I'll start with something a little semantic. I don't know. You know how I like to throw in stuff that's totally boring when I get into a rage and I'm about to say things that shouldn't be said on any kind of medium because they're disgusting. I have to do this again, which is disgusting. But you know, I think I wore it well. I like myself a lot more since doing diatribes. At any rate, vicious circle, I was looking up vicious because I didn't know exactly, is that an SC or just C? And I know it was an S. So just to make sure, I look it up because I got a dictionary right here. And I looked at the dictionary and I saw VIC and I thought, hey, I'll do what I did with the IRR prefix and kind of go with the VIC. Just see how it goes. It may be dumb. But vicious is spelled VICIOUS. Let's see how many of these words can be applied to Petri dish and his vulgar, that's VUL, but vulgar entourage. Okay, vicar, an administrative deputy. Well, all right, I'll call him a vicar. Vicarage. House of the Vicar. Yeah, well, Vicar General. Okay, let's go on. Vicarious. Acting for another. Well, I'd say he's vicarious in many ways because he couldn't be acting for himself because he's not smart enough to be so stupid. Vice. Well, there's one. That's a lot of ground to cover. Moral fault, especially immoral habit, depravity, wickedness. Well, there's Petri. In a nutshell, vice personified. Vice admiral, vice regent, vicennial, once every 20 years. I hope not. I think we'll just do it once now and then we'll start again. Vice presidency. Presidency of Vice. That describes Petri very well in many ways. It's a good play on words. Vice President. The president in charge of vice, in charge of treachery, in charge of being incompetent, and a lot of people losing their lives unnecessarily, including the enemy. Vice-regal, viceroy, vice versa. Well, vice versa. He can't really say he seesaws. He can't really say he, goes back and forth. He just goes straight into failure. Straight. Every issue. No seesawing, no vice versa. So you'll say that about him. He's consistently horrible. Consistently a failure. Vichyssoise. I wish I could have some now. Vichy water. Vicinage. Vicinal, vicinity, that has to do with the area in which we find ourselves. The area of despair and madness. Vicious, well, that's where we started. Wicked, depraved, addicted to vice. Defective, faulty, invalid, impure, foul, malicious, and spiteful. And having a savage disposition. That's Petri dish. I mean, that would be on his epitaph, on his gravestone, if they, actually commemorate his interment, which shouldn't be done. We don't want people going to his gravesite who are going to be weird. Victim, lots of victims. Well, first, vicissitude, the quality or state of being changeable. Well, he's malleable, but changeable. He's just been very consistently bad. Failure, all the way through. And victim, yes, he's made many. He's made thousands, and there will be many, 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 many more. And if you don't believe me, you just watch. And it's going to happen fast. And it's going to be horrific, and we're not going to take any responsibility, as usual. Victimize, to make a victim of, yes, master of victimization. Master. One of the best, probably in history, recorded. Victor, well, they will be. Victoria, Victorian, victorious. Yes, they will be very victorious. All the people who don't speak English will be very victorious. And victory and victual, food usable by man. Food supplies, well, and provisions, we're going to need those, so victuals, remember that. When in about 2 or 3 weeks, when we really realize how bad it's going to get, you get your victuals. And vicuña, South American wild mammal related to the llama and alpaca, also its wool. So yeah, kind of like Petri dish. So people don't even look at VIC. I find it kind of fun. But let's get back to the horror. The horror, as Marlon Brando said. Was going to continue and expand on some of the crap I said before, because I kind of say stuff and it's like I don't really say everything I want to say. Like, for instance, KKK in America, and the teacher thinks he's cool with his tattoos and his sleeves, as if that's not like 30 years old already. And he's all cool with, yeah, America, and then it's like, you know, in our day, back in the old days, back in when Plato was still sitting on a bench teaching us, we had philosophy classes, and they put those kind of provocative things up to get a reaction and then debate it. And it was a legitimate reaction, or it was a legitimate, you know, exercise in debate. Because America, KKK, let's debate that. Let's debate, I mean, what is America, first of all? You start with that debate, and I got to get these. You know, I do look kind of good, though. What is America? So, and KKK. I mean, I had philosophy classes in Hawaii, and the KKK wasn't relevant. There was whole different issues. Same kind of thing, but different. Not, you know, KKK would have been way out of place in Honolulu, for sure. But I did want to say, you know, as a provocative way to think, yeah, what is America, and is it good or bad, and what is the nature of evil and good, and what, you know, government? Is America the government, or is America the people that make up? When you say F America, or F the police, for that matter, I mean, you're saying F to a person who has a family and a person who's doing a job that needs to be done, because try having society without police. You just try it and see what happens. I don't trust people yet to that point. But I wanted to expand, and then I could have expanded more on my exposition to the world that advertising has been a bane to mankind, humankind, they kind. But I don't want to expound on that. I can go and add that like Hannity over and over again. I saw this Saki Girl Scout, freckle-faced Girl Scout, and she's holding up well. I will admit that. She's got her lines, and she knows what to say and how to say it. But I'm noticing that the press is pressing more. They're not going to give many more softballs, even the way they ask questions. Yeah, they ask them very gently. I can tell how they're asking them gently, but still, she's getting backed against the wall, and I don't see her lasting. I mean, I always say short periods of time, but it might be 2 weeks. It depends on how many more disasters we face in the next few days. But I don't see her lasting because she's going to lose it, because it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. I mean, she's asked questions about why are Haitians being sent back, but not the Mexicans, from a African American person who's concerned about Haitians. And it's like, well, if you send them back to Haiti, they're going back to just anarchy and nothing. So we spend a lot of money flying them to Haiti or putting them on boats. I don't know how we do it. Are they going to have caravans of buses going under that bridge? And people just load up on the bus, we're going back to Haiti after all these years of struggling. We're going back to a hellhole. I can't see it happening. You need a pretext, just like, well, I'm not going to compare. It's fourth turning. You need a pretext to put people in buses. Let me just put it to you that way. And the pretext is going to be, we're going to relocate you. How you're going to force people onto boats and planes, that's what remains to be seen. But she's going to be up against it. Now, I noticed a preponderance of two different phrases, which left me somewhat terrified. One phrase kept coming. It's just annoying because it's impunicity. Every time there was a problem and they couldn't circumvent, they always said, over the last several years, these problems have developed. We're trying to get problems. And she always refers to over the last decades and over a period of time, things have, gotten to this point. So don't blame us for everything coming to a head. We're just unlucky enough. They won't even say that. We're at a point where we have to deal with all the fuck-ups of our predecessors or all that crap. They said that many times. You go back and watch. It sounded boring, but actually she said a lot in a bad way. The second thing I heard, which is even more bad, is she kept saying when the next pandemic comes. Preview of Petri Dish's speech at the UN tomorrow. Next decade will determine future. We're going to reestablish alliances after the last few years have made things bad. There will be disagreements, but that doesn't mean we can't have alliances. If we disagree about whether women should be kept in burqas, well, that's just a little disagreement. We can still have alliances. Here we go. No force of arms will be used, and that's including the next pandemic. Go back and look at what she said. That's including the next pandemic. No force of arms will be used. That's including the next pandemic. That's including climate change, leveling the playing field, no force of arms. Now, regarding the next pandemic, she had a footnote. The U.S. has given more vaccinations than all other countries combined. So we can be proud that we did that, and I found it interesting. I think they're starting to get smart because they really need those 80 million who were hesitant. They have vaccine hesitancy. They don't, it's like we're hesitating. We're going to do it. We'll jump off the diving board, but you're just hesitating. Or it's like, well, we're waiting, just waiting for the right time. Not we, but they, those 80. Just paraphrasing what they're saying. So I talked to a few people, and they usually never say that they're waiting for the right time. So I don't shun them. I don't try to stay away from them. I just put my mask on and I talk to them normally. They're getting smart about the boosters because they're talking about eligibility, and they're talking about, a limited supply and starting with the infirm and the elderly. And that's good because if you create a false sense of supply and demand, you make people want it more. And you can't get a booster unless you get vaccinated. So that's a perfect way to get those hesitancies on board and try to get this herd immunity going by saying you no sense in a booster if you haven't had the vaccine. So you better get your vaccine and then you get your second shot. And then the boosters might be ready by October or November. And I don't know. I hear epsilon and mu, and I don't really want to think about it. But she did say the next pandemic. She said if. She never said if there's another pandemic. She said when the next pandemic or during the next. basically implied at least 2 or 3 times, if you go back and look at it, that there's going to be another pandemic. And what we do about it will be up to who's in charge. And I guess Petri dish will be in charge, because I don't see anybody in charge after him, because the conflagration will be here soon. What's the date today? It's like September 20th, like 65 to 70 days. So we don't have to worry about, who's in charge. And I think I don't know, did I complete part 2? I think I did. Anyway, to my satisfaction. I can always talk more later about everything. And I mean everything. So good afternoon. Enjoy.